Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. Please bear with us just 1 minute while we wait for our classes to tune in, and we will be joining you very shortly. Good morning and welcome to this Meet Your Future session. This is actually our last talk before the summer break. This year we have held over 80 sessions with employers based in Greater Manchester so that our audience of school and college students have the opportunity to ask these employers about their journey and what they do in their roles. And this week we have been specifically celebrating women in engineering. My name is Laura and I'm your co-host today. I work at the Greater Manchester Combined Authority, and it's my job to help young people find out more about the different jobs and pathways that are out there. One of the ways you can do that is on the GMAX website, which has lots of information for young people who live in Greater Manchester. I'm popping the link to the website into the chat box now. Today, we are hearing from women engineers who work for Arup and BAM Nuttall, two of the largest construction and civil engineering firms in Manchester. Daryl and Emma's talk is all about their experiences as women in civil engineering, their roles, and taking a look at the projects they are working on here in Manchester. They have also kindly included an activity to give you further insight. I emailed out the activity resources on Monday. If you didn't receive that, please pop your email address in the chat box and I will send it to you this morning. Your email address in the chat box will be in my unpublished area, so don't worry, no one else can see that in the audience. If you've got any questions, please can I ask your teachers to pop them in the chat box for me to publish, and Emma and Daryl will have time to answer them at the end. I am now delighted to hand over to Emma and Daryl.
Hi, so I'm Daryl Chowton from BAM Nuttall, and this is Emma Cecil from Arups. Can we just change slide again, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Would you like me to hit play on the video straight away?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Every day, you and I walk past buildings and roads. We cross bridges and use energy supplies without even a second thought. But what if I told you that everything around us tells a tale, and that you could help build this magical story? What? Our daily commute isn't the most exciting of activities, but it could be a whole lot tougher if it wasn't for these. Engineers invent and design things, but civil engineers, they create some of the really big things. Check this out, an entire underground world. Engineering is a word for the skill set that allows you to create anything in your head. How incredible is that? These are the innovative designs that create the backdrop to the world we live in. Strong, durable structures built from the ground up to help us live more comfortably, travel faster, and be connected to essential networks. The shopping centres you go to, the entire road and transport system. Even the libraries you visit. None of this would be here if it wasn't for civil engineers. How often do you think about the way water reaches you? When you're thirsty, you grab yourself a drink. It's easy to take it for granted. Even the simplest of systems and mechanisms have been ingeniously designed by engineers to work. A relaxing trip in the countryside would be a pretty bumpy ride if it wasn't for the smooth paths that pave our way. Hello? And thanks to structures designed to withstand floods, like this sea wall, we're protected from natural disasters. All of the everyday things that barely cross our mind couldn't be done without civil engineers, without the skills of people just like me and you. Shh. And don't worry, being an engineer isn't all about muddy boots and building sites. You could share your passion by working with these guys, using state-of-the-art technology to realise your ideas and inspire others. The potential to create life-changing structures really is enough to blow anyone away. Choosing civil engineering means a well-paid, exciting and fulfilling career with the satisfaction of knowing that you help bring all of this to life. Where does your story begin?
Okay, so I'll just give you a little bit of a background about me. So I'm Emma, I'm a civil engineer at Arup and I'm in the site development team. So this means we're looking at how to take a site which is typically brownfield, so like derelict land, and we work to understand all the issues and the constraints and the things that are wrong with that land which have kind of prevented it from being developed again for its new use already. And work to design and how to overcome these, and then that basically enables their regeneration. So it might be for like a shopping centre, a new park, for residential, all different types of things. And then obviously to do that as a civil engineer, I also have to work with other disciplines, so like architects, geotechnics, transport planning. There's a range of different people. So I'd say that one of the key skills that I think I need in my role is that to be able to talk to different types of people. And obviously some people are really technical and they're really good at some specific problem, but then you need to be able to kind of take that problem and explain it to the client or people like that who might not understand it all in great detail. So you need to be able to explain something very tricky in simple terms, but then you need to be able to understand something that is quite complicated. So again, I'd say that maths and problem solving and things like that. So you do need to be able to get into the detail, but then you do need to be able to step back and think about the bigger picture and how all these different disciplines fit together, and how can you work together to make the bigger picture. So I'd just say like a little bit about my background. So at school I didn't really know what I wanted to do, so I just did the GCSEs and A-levels that I was kind of good at and I quite liked, tried to balance that too. So then I did maths, further maths and physics, and then I struggled a bit with my geography, so I didn't take that all the way. I just did that for AS. So then when I was looking at different degrees that are out there, I thought, oh well, maybe engineering's then the one for me. And I researched into the different types of engineering, and I thought that actually I wasn't very good at kind of minute scale. I more liked large scale things, and I also liked being like in the great outdoors, things like that. So I quite liked, sounds a bit geeky now, but like looking at dams and things like that, if you go for a hike, or how a cable car is held up the side of a mountain and things like that. So it was more the large scale things. So then I was like, oh, so that looks like it's civil engineering, that would be for me. So I went to Glasgow University to do that, and then in a few of my summers I had summer placements at Arup, and then I applied to join their graduate scheme, and then I've been there since that. And then I suppose the last thing there, what do I like most about my role? I suppose it's seeing something where you've got this, it's not a blank canvas, because that would be much easier. It's a horrible canvas, it's got all these issues, but then it's how can you overcome that and make something good. And then it's really satisfying to see something that you dreamed up actually kind of coming all the way around, and actually it's starting to get built, or it is built, or that's how it's progressing, and then other people will get to see that, and some people might not even ever notice what you've done, but then hopefully other people do benefit from it. So yeah, that's me.
Hi, so yeah, I'm Daryl. I'm also a civil engineer, but a different kind of civil engineer to Emma. I work for the contractor. So basically, Emma will design the project, and then passes it. Well, we work together to overcome problems, to provide solutions, and then me and my team go out onto site and we build the project. So we manage the project throughout all the different stages. We assist with the design from a constructability point of view, and then we go on to construct it, and then we hand it over to whoever the client is afterwards. We have to make sure that everything's constructed on site safely. That's our main priority, and it's delivered on time and with the highest standards and within budget. So on a day-to-day basis, I work with a site team which can vary from 5 people to 50 people out on the site. And you've got different aspects of the job going on at all the times. And normally you're put, to begin with, you can start out on on smaller little aspects of the project, and then as you progress throughout your career, you then become responsible for larger teams and more variety of jobs. So I currently am managing all the enabling works on this project, and we have a site team of about 15 people, including subcontractors. So the people that you work with every day within my role could change. You have your core team, and then you have new people coming in all the time from different walks of life, and you've got to manage these different people. So why did I choose to go into civil engineering? It's basically because I didn't want to be stuck in one place all the time. I wanted a variety throughout my career, and this career offers that opportunity. You you tend to spend a year or two on one project, and then you move on to different projects, sometimes with the same team, sometimes with brand new people. So it's like moving, and you get a different experience every couple of years. And then the challenges that you can face on a daily basis. You could go into work one morning thinking everything's absolutely fine, and then all of a sudden you come across something which is completely unexpected, and you've got to solve that problem, you either yourself or with your team around you. So yeah, it's challenging, but it's great fun, and it always keeps you on your toes. And you get to work outside, which is great. I mean, in the winter sometimes it's a bit cold, but in the summer months when it's beautiful weather like this, you're outside all day, every day. And then as you progress throughout your career, you then start becoming more office based, but you still have that opportunity to go outside whenever you want, which I also really enjoy. So a bit about my pathway into this career. I was similar to Emma. When I was at school and at college, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, so I just focused on the subjects, that I was good at and I found interesting, which was biology, chemistry, physics and maths. Chemistry wasn't my strongest, so I dropped that one and just did an AS in that one. And then I went on to do a HND in civil engineering at John Moores University in Liverpool, which was just a 2-year course, which is accepted as a qualification to get into the industry. So you don't have to spend a vast time at university if you don't want to. If that's the route that you want to go down, you can just do your 2 years and then you can get accepted as a contractor. But I went on to do a degree, Bachelor's of Engineering, and this was an additional 3 years because I chose to do a sandwich year. And my sandwich year is basically you take a year out from university, and I worked with the university and went out to Malaysia for a year and worked for a civil engineering firm out there, where they provided me with accommodation and they paid me monthly, and I got to travel Asia whilst I did it. So that was very interesting and very exciting, and it's an opportunity that I don't think I would have ever have been able to do if I didn't go to university. However, saying that, these opportunities are available even if you don't go to uni. And then once I finished that, I went and joined BAM as a summer placement, and I loved it. Being outside, I worked on a multi-million-pound project, and it just grabbed my attention. So yeah, and then I just progressed from a trainee up to a sub-agent now, which, yeah, is exciting. Okay, next slide then, please, Laura.
Okay, so I'll just give you a little bit of a background on the project that we're working on at the minute, and this is how me and Daryl have come to know each other. So it's called Victoria North. So it's from Victoria train station, kind of going northwards out of the city centre towards Collyhurst. And the council here have a plan that so there's a lot of derelict land. So although it does look a bit green at the minute on this picture that you can see here, this is actually really kind of grass growing on top of concrete, old factories, things like that, things that have been demolished down to the ground 50, 20, 10 years ago, and then it's all been left there. So some of this used to be railways where the trains would go to sleep at night and things like that. So the council's got a plan here that there'd be up to 15,000 new homes across this whole area. And then at the minute, we're just looking at focusing in on a key first bit of this project, which is the bit highlighted in yellow. And it's like the first neighbourhood kind of to get us going on this wider regeneration project. And then if you jump on the next slide, please. So we've just zoomed in now here on that, what was highlighted in yellow. And you can see here we've got a bit of a master plan going. So we're working with, we're working for the council, and we're doing all the infrastructure that is required that will then enable developers in the future to come along. So these kind of blank white spaces, they'll be the plots that in the future other developers can come along and they can build their buildings on there, and it's kind of ready and waiting for them. And as you can see here, so we've got a new road in there, we've got a new park, things like that. So there's quite a lot of different civil engineering topics that are involved in this project. So we've got new drainage that's required because obviously the site at the minute is just barren land. So we need to add in the drainage, utilities. So obviously the people that are going to live there in the future, they're going to want power to their homes, they're going to want internet to their homes. They're also going to want to be able to flush the toilets and things like that. So we need to be able to drain that away. There's civil structures. So we're going to have a few little bridges that will then cross the river and things like that. Some new staircases going up because there's big level differences. Highways, we've obviously got the new road, ground mediation and geotechnics. So because this land has had various different industrial uses, it's got some contamination, so like pollution in the ground already. So it's just working where these areas are, where they need to be treated, to make it safe then for future residents. And then also we've been looking at the carbon aspects of the project. So I don't know how much you guys know about that, but say like the embedded carbon, so the carbon that's kind of required to manufacture something that then we're using on site, things like that. But even then also the transportation. So are we bringing in goods from around the world? Are we bringing in goods from across the country? Or are we bringing in goods from down the road? Are we picking in the localist materials that we can, and things like that? And how can that influence our design? Or, you know, could we use solar lights in the park instead of generic electric ones? And then obviously beyond civil engineers, there's other disciplines that we're working with. So there's the master planners and urban designers. So they look at the much wider whole Victoria North project and how they want plots and future buildings and layouts and things like that. Then architects will look at buildings on an individual scale, and then landscape architects, they're then looking at the park and the public realm and how that will flow and join in with the rest of our disciplines. And then we do have some ecologists as well, looking at the different species that exist there at the minute and how to protect them, but then how to also encourage new biodiversity into the area. And then we've got social value as well, which is involved. So they're helping making sure that our project benefits the wider community. And so one of their things here is this talk. So it's making sure that we just provide like the overall bigger picture to get the maximum out of the scheme possible for the wider community. And then Daryl will just talk through the site as it is at the minute, what's going on.
Thanks, Emma. Yeah, so if you look at these pictures here on the slides, this is currently what the site looks like. I'll run through some what each of them mean. The top left is the current, well, it's not currently like this, but it's the river. A few years ago, the road flooded, and I mean at the moment there's a 2 meter level difference from where the river is now to where you can see it on this picture, give or take, and that's how high the water levels came up, and it completely flooded the adjacent road. So we need to put measures in place to protect the road and ensure that no flooding can carry out in the future. And then if you look at the next photo along on the right hand side, there's the bridge. This is actually the Lowry Step Bridge, which is quite well known in Manchester, I believe, and we will be protecting this bridge during these works, and we'll just be encompassing it into our design. So that bridge will be staying during the project and afterwards. And then if you look in the right hand side and the middle bottom photo, you can see that there is a lot of rubbish, or litter, should we say. And as Emma was explaining earlier, this is a brownfield site, and even though the previous slides show the beautiful green areas, this is actually what it looks like when you get into there. And it looks green from the sky, but really it's not a very nice place at all. So this has been derelict, or barren should we say, for quite a number of years. As Emma said, it was the old Victoria's train station rail siding, so they used to bring trains in here. And because it's been derelict for so many years, unfortunately, people have taken the opportunity to fly tip rubbish. So during the enabling works, we've had to go in and remove all this rubbish, and the quantities of rubbish was overwhelming, to be honest. But this is all gone now, thankfully. Along with fly tipping the rubbish, obviously you can see that there's a load of trees here. These trees, which have now been cut down, they were self-seeding trees which hadn't been planted purposefully. Obviously, as I said, it was barren land. The seeds had just grown them. So we have had to remove trees, unfortunately. However, for every tree that we've had to remove, we will be replacing them with 3 trees in the final master plan once we finish upgrading the park area down the bottom. So as you can see here, where these trees are removed, this is where the new highway is going to go in. And then, as I say, we're going to replant additional trees at the in the park area. So we won't be cutting down trees unnecessarily. In addition to this, we've also been carrying out some demolition works. So at the top of the site, there was an old derelict dairy factory where the milk floats used to go. So we've had to demolish that building, and that's where the highway is gonna come in and enter the plot of land. We've also carried out, as Emma said, GI work, which is ground investigation work to determine if there's contamination or different water levels and things like that in the ground prior to building on it. You've got to carry out all these different surveys to determine whether the design is gonna work. Okay, next slide please, Laura. So now we're going to move on to other projects in Manchester. And if you have any questions regarding the topics that me and Emma have covered on Victoria North, and as Laura said, just put them in the question box and we can answer them at the end. So the 2 projects that we're going to talk about are separate. BAM Nuttall carried out the New Islington Marina upgrade, and Arup's carried out, or is currently carrying out, the Manchester Town Hall Albert Square upgrade. Both these projects are based in Manchester, and hopefully with some of the photographs you might actually recognise them. So if you could go on to the next slide please, Laura. So this is the New Islington Marina upgrade that BAM Nuttall carried out. I think it was about 3 years ago, and I was on this project. This is based in Ancoats. It's an up and coming area where there's been a vast amount of development, and basically the marina area was leaking, and so when the water levels rose in the marina, due to rainfall and the locks opening further up the canal, the water level rose, and it would seep through the pavings and the coping stones on the edge of the marina, and then it would cause water damage under the pavements. Well, the pavements would be all over the place and cause trip hazards to the public, etc. All the timber decking, we've had to replace all that because that was all rotten, and again it was a slip and trip hazard. We had to put in new drainage. We had to put in some new services to all the lighting columns. It doesn't show it in these photographs, but there was an area at the back which we re-landscaped to provide a green area for local residents and for passers-by. And then, yeah, we had to do mortar repairs on every single coping stone and paving slab across the whole marina, which was very tedious. However, when you walk through it, you just see the beautiful pavements. But there was a lot that went into it because of the falls and the levels and trying to get the water to flow to where you wanted it to flow. So you can see at the bottom there's the black line, which is the eco drain, and trying to get all the paving slabs to run the water into there. It was quite a challenging project, but it was also great fun. And logistics wise on this one was very tricky because we, as you can see, don't have much room, and there's buildings right next to the areas that we were working in. So we had to come up with new ways on how to A, transport materials, B, carry out the works itself, and then take off waste materials or that we were replacing in such a small confined area. And then we also had to contend with the different levels of the river, the canal, sorry. In the winter, we used to get quite a bit of flooding with heavy rainfall. So it was a challenge, but it was great fun. Now on to Emma, who will talk to you about the town hall. If you can change slides, please, Laura.
Okay, so the town hall in Manchester is a wonderful old building, but it's slightly got a bit worse for wear recently. So it's a big overhaul project inside the building itself to get that kind of in the 21st century, and then also so Albert Square is a square that's outside the front, so it's upgrading that. And you might know it from, this is where the Christmas markets and things like that go. So if you've been to the Christmas markets in Manchester, this is the area we're talking about. So unfortunately, well, also probably because of COVID, but at the minute it's cut off while we're doing these works, and then hopefully soon you'll get to see it all new and finished. But as part of the upgrade works, we're planning on closing the roads that go around there to make it a bigger open space that the public can enjoy, rather than have the worry of cars quickly driving by and things like that. And then by doing that, we're also introducing kind of these tree boulevards, like tree avenues, that just to kind of improve the area, improve the aesthetics of the area as well. And also these will help with the drainage, so the water will drain into these. But obviously there's things hidden beneath the ground, maybe not so obviously, but so the first picture there shows that when you look just beneath the surface of the ground, there's all these different services and utilities that exist. So in there we've got some electricity, we've got gas main, we've got all the different types of telecoms. So you've got Virgin Media, Vodafone, all the different competitors, OpenReach. Everybody's assets are all crammed into quite a small space, all crisscrossing all over the place. And obviously we need to find space to be able to position these trees. So then that middle picture there is showing that actually the size of the space. So you can see that man in there that shows how big that tree pit does need to be for a tree to then be able to survive. So we did the trial holes, which is a picture on the left, to investigate what was in the ground in these certain locations, identify, can we tweak where the trees are going to go. So the actual tree itself had to be, the planning authority said that had to be in the exact location, but could we slightly change the shape of the box, move it around these, and then did we need to divert any of these services in the ground around the proposed trees? So that was one of the tasks that was ongoing. And then the picture on the right there is then the kind of showing the pavement build up and all the nice new surfacing around the different statues and the fountains and things like that. So hopefully soon you'll be able to experience it in its finished state. And then this is just kind of some behind the scenes at the minute, what's ongoing. and then I'll just jump on to quickly talk you through the Arup careers. So within Arup, we take on a range of different kind of starting ages. So you can join Arup as an apprentice, and you can do that from 16 onwards. You can do it from 18 onwards, or of course you could do it when you're 40 years old and you decide you want to completely change what you're doing. But we do have those open from 16 onwards and 18 onwards, and then we have some internships. So I did some summer placements, or we do an industrial placement, a little bit like what Daryl was saying, although obviously not in a snazzy country. So that would be where you'd take a year out from university and you could come and work with us at Arup, and then you kind of continue your studies, and then you'd be looking for then a graduate job after that. Or you can just come in straight as a graduate, fresh after university. And then I've just put the link in there. So we do have a few vacancies still open. I think there was social value one. There was a couple of facades and engineering ones still open for this September. But then otherwise, if you jump onto the next slide, it should show. So this is kind of the process. So typically they would open in autumn. So if you're looking for an apprentice role, then you should be looking in the autumn and applying then. And if you're successful, then there'd be interviews and things like that then on in January. And then from then onwards, then it'd be kind of shortlisting, and then you would know kind of late winter, early spring, and then you would start the next September. And it's a similar kind of time frame for the graduates as well. So that's it, a summary for Arup. I'll let Daryl talk about BAM.
So BAM offer a wide range of apprenticeship schemes. Also, we have 4 main apprenticeship pathways. So you have the supporting role, should we say, which is the business support. So we've got business admin, HR, IT, and then the IT and digital, which is up and coming, to be honest, within the construction industry. A data analyst and digital engineering is quite a niche market, and we don't actually have that many of them. So we're trying to recruit more, because I don't know how much you know about digital 3D models and things like that, but obviously we're moving more into a technological environment where technology is just taken over, and we need to get there as well within the construction industry. So yeah, IT and digital, there's some really good apprenticeships on offer there. And then as well, if you don't want to be an engineer or any other supporting roles, we also have craft trades, which is your ground workers, electrical engineers and joinery, which are the guys out on site who actually deliver the project and they actually build it. So there's a lot of opportunities there for different crafts. And again, for the Manchester job, we are going to need all of these different roles, because it's going to be quite a heavy project. Then there's the technical apprenticeships, which is your civil engineering and quantity surveying. That's within BAM Nuttall. And then you've probably heard of our sister company, which is BAM Construct. So BAM Construct focus more on the structures side of things. So we do the infrastructure and the heavy civil engineering, whereas BAM Construct are more management. So they also offer construction management and building services engineering apprenticeships. If you could pop onto the next slide, please, Laura. This is all the different areas that you can find out more. So we've got bamcareers.com, which explains in a lot more detail than me what careers and opportunities we have available. One thing that the last slide didn't mention was summer placements and industry placements, like Emma mentioned, from Arups. but BAM Nuttall do offer summer placements and year out from university if that's the route that you'd like to go down. I actually, as I said, had a summer placement with BAM. And again, if you just go down the bamcareers.com, then you can find out more information there. There's also this QR code that you can scan, and that brings it up if you have the technology to do that now. There's also the Arup's website here, which explains all of the careers available from Arup's. And then below that, we've got 4 other websites which have a lot of information about the industry itself, which I think would be very interesting to go and have a look at. Okay, next slide, please, Laura. And now Emma's going to talk to you about the task.
Okay, so hopefully your teachers will have had some information sent through, but I'll give you a quick summary here, and then this is kind of more of a task that you will do separately after this, but I'll give you a quick overview. So for the Victoria North site, which we talked about earlier on in this presentation, you're going to do kind of your own version here and help create a new master plan for a new neighbourhood. So we've given you a red line boundary, so that's the zone that you're concentrating on. And then your clients asked for certain different types of land uses. So say a park, a school, some employment, some houses, some high rise, all different types of things that they require to fit in this space. So the first task that you'd have to do is work out how many boxes on your sheet. Sorry, it'll make sense when you open everything up, but the little picture on the right there kind of demonstrates. So the area is split up into squares. Each of those squares is a certain area. So then you know how many squares you need to colour in for each different land use. So we've touched on today some of the different kind of constraints that you come across. So I've given you a plan there of the satellite imagery just so you can see what it looks like. A contour plan which shows the kind of the topography of the land, like how it raises where it's steep. So obviously where the contours are closer together, that means it's steeper. So you just have to think, you know, is that suitable for all different land uses, or is that better for some rather than others? Then, as we showed you in that picture earlier, quite a lot of this area alongside the river, so this is the River Irk that comes through the site, is at flood risk. So you might not necessarily want to put kind of more vulnerable land uses up against those. So if you have a think about what might be more at risk. So say you wouldn't want, we're not proposing a hospital on this site, but say in life you wouldn't want a hospital where it's potentially then going to flood and you've got all these poorly people that are then also trapped in a flood. So that is not an appropriate thing, but it could be appropriate that you might have a park or something like that, or something where people won't be in a big storm event anyway. And then also there's a historic map included, because obviously we said this is quite an old industrial area. So have a look at the different buildings from 100 years ago and think, I wonder if any of those potentially might have been, obviously back in the day we didn't know everything was quite as dangerous as we are aware of now. So some things might be poisonous, so it might be contamination in the ground. So you might not necessarily want a kid to be playing in a sandpit on top of some nasty historic use. So if you have a look and kind of identify the things that you think might be at risk, and obviously in real life this is where we'd go out and do some tests to go and investigate what actually is in that soil. Or equally, you might not want to be growing and eating some vegetables that might have some poison in them, things like that. But a skate park, well, that might be okay to go on top because nobody's going to be really interacting with the ground underneath it. So if you have a look at the little task sheet, it tells you step by step what to look at for each of these plans, and then if you use each of those to kind of think about your constraints and how you want to colour code your master plan out, and obviously include a key. so that people that can look at it and understand. And then there's also, you need to think about the interaction between the different land uses. So whether you want to have your industry or your employment, your offices, your warehouses all in one area, or will you spread them out, things like that. Or, you know, do you want something heavy industry right next to a school, or actually is it better for the school to be near the homes, things like that. So there's a wide range of things, and you'll have to kind of think of the pros and cons of each and balance those out. So there's 1,000 different scenarios that could happen. I suppose there's not necessarily a right or wrong answer. It's just to be able to prove really why you think you've come up with the solution that you have. So that's just to give a bit of a flavour for kind of the thinking that goes on behind these regeneration schemes. And I think that's it from us.
Thank you, Emma. If we could do the Q&A part of the presentation now. And just as a reminder to the audience, I did send the resources out earlier this week. If you didn't receive them, please pop me an email. I've put my email on the chat box, and I'll make sure to send you those resources shortly. So I have got some questions here already in the chat box for Emma and Daryl. First of all, we have an international student on with us today, and they say, I have some of these skills you're talking about, 3D modelling, coding skills. I am considering moving to the UK. Would you have any advice for an international, potential international student?
So I'd say from Arup's point of view, we are an international company, so we have offices around the world, and then we also have many international employees within our UK offices as well. So if you have a look at, so I'm not sure where, if you're still early careers or if you're like how much experience you have, but if you have a look on the website, it comes up with all the different job vacancies that are out there at the minute. I suppose the only thing there to just double check is visas and things like that, whether you would need a visa from the country that you're coming from, and also then I suppose it's just speaking to Arup and making sure how that works with sponsorship and things like that. But yeah, many nationalities within the firm, and then equally within the company, people swap between offices of different countries as well, kind of either to suit their family if they want to move back or try somewhere new. Yeah, quite international.
Excellent, thanks Emma. And the next question is, what thing do you find most challenging with your job?
Most challenging. There's quite a few, but challenges are good. I see them as a good thing, because once you overcome them, the feeling that you get is great. So don't always think of a challenge as being negative. It tests you and makes you a better person, I find. But most challenging for me would be I don't really know, actually. I can't put it into words. I'd probably say that the pace that the industry goes at, we have a lot of deadlines, and you're working with a lot of different people who are focused in on their tiny little section and trying to get everybody to collaborate and work together. Sometimes it's great and it works amazingly, and other times it's very difficult to get all these different disciplines talking to each other and on the same page. But once it does, and once you overcome that challenge, it's great and everything runs smoothly, should we say.
Excellent, thanks Daryl. The next question is, what is the favourite project of yours that you've ever worked on?
Do you want to go, Emma, or do you want me to? Or should we both? My favourite project that I've ever worked on, there's a toss-up between two of them. The first ever project I went on was a place called Liverpool 2, which It was a multi-million-pound deep water container terminal that we built in Liverpool, which I'd highly recommend going to have a look at that. And the other one is the Blythe Offshore Demonstrator Project up in Newcastle, where we built some wind turbines that obviously provide renewable energy. However, they were built onshore, and then we actually floated them out to sea 5 kilometers offshore, and then displaced them because they were hollow inside, displaced them with sand, and they're basically like a giant paperweight sat on the sea bed with this big wind turbine on, that in 25 years when they get decommissioned they can just be towed back to shore, and we've not ruined the seabed because it's not a fixed structure, and then you can go put another one out there. So that was all brand new, and it was great fun, and I actually got to go offshore, which was exciting. But I'll leave the next one to you.
So mine doesn't sound as exciting as that. So I would say I think on Victoria North, so the project we talked about today, where we mentioned about the river flooding, and that river, because of all the industrial uses, everybody like put their factories right up to back with it. It's got horrible, it's almost like a canal. It's got a hard bed, you know, it's a big box basically, and it floods. So then whilst we're looking at ways to stop the river flooding out, rather than just building the walls higher to trap the water in, we've been looking at ways to, can we try and restore that river to how it should be, back to, you know, a few hundred years ago, how it would have been. So say there's some weirs which kind of slow the flow, which would have been great for the factories and the mills at the time, but actually that means the river then suddenly drops like 2 or 3 meters, which means the water backs up and then floods, but then also it means that fish and things like that can't swim up the river anymore. So we're looking at ways to, you know, could you remove that weir? Could you make the banks more natural? Could you introduce some vegetation back into the river to then allow like the biodiversity, everything to improve, and then also it'll make it a nicer place for people. So it runs through that park that we're hoping to be building, so, you know, children can go pond dipping and things like that. So it's just a fun project to be involved in, and what I particularly quite like is that so I started on this project when I started as a graduate, so that's, you know, it's been going on for quite a while, but it's quite nice that this was kind of, I got to go away and research different restoration techniques and try and come up with some solutions. And it was just kind of little me as a graduate kind of came up with these ideas. And obviously we've designed them and taken it further and further, and now we model it and things like that. But actually it's going to be being built in the near future. So hopefully it all works, fingers crossed, and I'll be able to be proud that that was kind of little Emma and other people obviously now since then. But that helped with that. So yeah.
Amazing, thank you. We've had an influx of extra questions. Someone here has asked, is there any life balance in your career? Do you feel like you're striking a good work-life balance, being women in engineering?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, don't get me wrong, we work really hard, and sometimes, especially being a contractor on site, I'm not sure, Emma can explain about a designer afterwards, but as a contractor on site, you do work long hours, but you also get a lot of flexibility in your work role. And the work-life balance is good. So we might start early in the morning, but then like leaving early, and if there's flexibility within your job role and within your team as well. So yeah, definitely.
Amazing, thank you, Daryl. We've got a few more to get through. Question for the panel here. I am a second-year civil engineering student. How do I make myself stand out for such big firms who most likely have thousands of applications ongoing? How can a student really make themselves stand out from the crowd?
So I'd say it's not just, obviously you need to be hardworking and show that you're smart and things like that, but it's all about that you are someone that can work as part of the team. I think that's the most important thing. It doesn't matter how clever you are if you can't ever convey that to people, or you don't get on with people and things like that. So I'd say that it's about having hobbies, doing extracurricular activities. Do you volunteer? I don't know, at the local brownie group or the scout group and things like that. So say from our Duke of Edinburgh, and then I carried on working there. I worked at a dairy farm, which is quite strange because obviously I live in Manchester, so on the edge of Manchester there's a dairy farm, which is where I worked at. And I just included that as one line in my CV, of all the different things, of all the experience. I included my paper round that I had for like 10 years as well, but all these different things to kind of show that, as a hard worker and could have a variety of things. And even now at work, they still bring it up that they remember that I was the one that worked on a farm. Some of them think it was a sheep farm, but it's still kind of stuck in their mind rather than necessarily. Obviously, I had relatively good grades as well, but it isn't just all about your grades. It's kind of showing who you are as a wider person. So that'd be my tip.
Amazing. Thank you, Emma. Someone else has asked, what are the transferable skills that are necessary in this field of engineering?
As Emma said, communication and working as a team is the number one. If you don't have them skills, then this probably isn't the job for you. However, all other skills can be developed as long as you've got them core ones. It's the communication and it's working as a team are the main ones, and the problem solving. But yeah, mainly communication and yeah.
Excellent.
I think on the communication, sorry, I was just going to say, on
Yeah.
communication, it's like a variety. So sometimes you need to be able to call someone up quick to get an answer. Other times you need to be able to write an email that someone can like fully understand and and know exactly what you're asking. Other times it's, in a big group, how to interact with many people. It's like picking the right style of communication to be able to, it's not, because I think it's potentially maybe our whole generation is like this, but I don't really like talking on the phone to people, but you kind of just have to get used to it a little bit. But that isn't the be all and end all. You need to be able to write a clear, concise report that someone can read if it's not their technical ability, that they can get the takeaway messages. So it's kind of that bigger picture communication.
Excellent. Thanks, Emma. We have one final question here, and it's absolutely perfect for the end of our Women in Engineering Week that we've been celebrating with Meet Your Future. And this person has asked, is the workforce changing to diversify in both gender and ethnicity?
Within BAM, 100%. I joined BAM, was it 9 years ago, and there was very little women in the industry, well, who I worked with, and now I think we are, as women, there is a lot more joining the teams and joining the industry, not just only as engineers, but as commercial staff, digital construction, admin. There's a vast variety, and ethnicity as well. There's all that's again the same with the women in engineering, and I'm actually an EDI champion for our company, so we try and promote equality, diversity and inclusion within our workforce, and ensure that everybody has a voice, or they have somebody that they can go and speak to. But yeah, I do feel that we are getting better as an industry. Don't think we're there yet at all, but we are definitely getting better. I don't know about you, Emma, within the design firms.
Yeah, maybe potentially it was easier for in an office environment to kind of for women to be integrated sooner. Maybe there's less of the stigma around being on site, but I'd say that although at university there's quite a small percentage of us as females, I think, and maybe it depends on the companies that you go and look at. So maybe BAM and Arup are particularly good at this, so we don't notice it as much. But within our firms, within Arup there's almost a 50-50 split, particularly at the kind of in the lower grades, like around me and downwards in the younger ones. But then equally, like on some of these projects, like we've got women as the key roles. They are in charge of this project. So yeah, I think times are definitely changing.
Excellent, thank you so much. I will need to draw our session to a close now as we are just slightly over the time. That has been an incredible talk. Thank you so much to Daryl and Emma. The last slide I'm showing there just shows our hashtag for Meet Your Future as MYF. You can also take a look at our gmax.co.uk website for all of the local information for young people, one-stop career shop for taking a look at all of your post-16 and post-18 opportunities within Greater Manchester. And please do give us a follow on either Twitter or Instagram on @YourGmax so you can follow our news and events. The recording of today's talk will be on our YouTube channel and I will post that in the chat box in just a moment. Emma or Daryl, do you have any final thoughts to send us off today?
No, just whatever you do, I suppose, just make sure it's something that you enjoy the background subjects of, rather than just because you necessarily think it's the right thing to go down or your parents say that's a thing to do or anything like that. Just pick the subjects that you like and kind of keep following that path. That's what I'd say.
Excellent, thank you so much. Yes,
I just say that give it a go. You're not stuck forever. If you get a couple of years in and realise, oh, I really don't like being on site as a contractor, you can go and be a designer like Emma, or vice versa. If you don't like being a designer, you're like, I really want to go outside and be on site, you can swap. We do secondments between the two companies all the time, and there's so much out there within the construction industry, not just engineering. There's so many different roles and different things to do, and they're all really exciting. So definitely give it a go.
Excellent, thank you so much. Well, that does draw us to a close now and the end of our Women in Engineering Week, and also the end of the Meet Your Future sessions for this academic year, with huge thanks to our wonderful audiences that we've had this year, and especially today, some really fantastic questions for us. Massive thanks again to Emma and Daryl, and we hope to see you all again soon. Bye-bye.